Good morning, Cougars. This is Mrs. Villanueva, and I have a guest today, Mr. Bausman. And welcome today to today's Thursday's Thoughts. Welcome to our counseling office. And Mr. Bausman, thank you for coming in today.
Thank you for having me.
So we're going to be asking you a few questions, or I'm going to ask you a few questions to get to know you. We're very excited that you're part of the Chaparral family as our band director. And so we're going to go ahead and ask some questions, all right? So before Chaparral, where did you come from?
Great question. First off, I'm just so excited to be here, here at Chaparral and then here for this, so thank you for having me. I actually taught at all three levels, but for the longest time I was at a high school. I was the director of bands at Beckman High School in Irvine, and so I taught all of the different bands from classical sit-down to jazz and to marching band, where we, won awards, traveled, competed, stuff like that. And so I came from there and decided I really love doing that, but the marching band takes up a very large portion of your time, spending most days after school playing for events, football games, parades, weekends, just very long nights, very long weeks. And I decided I was just ready for a little bit of a change. And then when this opened up, I was really thrilled. The kids here are amazing, and it reminds me very much of the high school experience. So I'm just very excited to be here.
We are excited that you're here as well and bringing that wealth of knowledge, especially from the high school. And I think that's going to be great for our students in the band program. So we're happy that you're here. So outside of Chaparral and outside of working, what do you enjoy doing? What are your hobbies or a fun fact about you?
One thing I really love is mathematics and statistics and stuff. I actually used to be a math teacher when I first started, as well as music. But I love strategy, and something that relaxes me is like theory crafting and planning ahead for certain things. So like I love video games like Fire Emblem, Baldur's Gate, stuff like that, where I get to look ahead and plan out different things. And then I love strategy, books and novels like the Ender's Game series, stuff like that. I find that the day-to-day things can get a little hectic, and I know it's not for everybody. For me, I like the simpleness and rigidity almost of mathematics, where it goes from one to the next. It's very logical and precise, and I have the freedom to manipulate to get a result that I want, and I just find it very relaxing. But I understand it's not for everybody.
It definitely is not for me. However, I think it's important that you know what your SEL or social emotional learning, like what will bring you joy after a stressful day. And that's very healthy because we have to find what we enjoy doing outside of our everyday work. Even if we love our work, I know you love being a band director, but sometimes you do need to step outside and enjoy. So I'm glad that that's what you enjoy doing. And I'm curious to see if we have any students who love doing that would love to have that conversation with you.
I would love that.
All right. And then as far as going into teaching, who inspired you to go into teaching and why? Because we like to give a shout out to those teachers who inspire us.
I have two teachers in particular, Mrs. Kirch and Mr. Bennett. The first was one of my math teachers, and the latter was my AP language teacher. When I first started in education in elementary and moving through, I used to think that I was dumb. I did not understand what was going on. I would ask questions, and teachers would just say, no, or you don't understand what's happening, just do it this way, just do it this way. And I always struggled with doing it that way. And so I just assumed that I was not smart enough to understand what they were saying. And then these two teachers in particular, in their own way, in their own curriculum, was able to recognize the way I think and process may be different, but that doesn't mean it's wrong. And they were able to come alongside me and encourage me to keep thinking along those same lines and to get to the correct answers in my own way. And just taught me that it's more important to find the person first than anything else. They got me to understand that students are more than their grades. You're more than a test. You can take a test and fail it and still be a good student. You can have some trouble with a certain class and still be able to go on to do fantastic things in your life. You are more than just one moment, and you are not defined by a class or a grade or an instance. A student can come in and do something really off the walls and not conducive to that class and be disruptive. It can be a bad thing, an attitude, acting out. That doesn't mean they are a bad student. That should not define the rest of their educational career. We're here to make mistakes and to mold ourselves and to learn from that. And they taught me that by doing. And I realized I wanted to do that for somebody else.
I think that as we end our Thursday's thoughts, that is definitely an important thought, because I think that all our students, we want to do well. They want to do well. And sometimes the grade, we stress out. If it's not a particular grade, it's like, oh man, I don't know how to do that. Or I'm not good, or I failed, when it's not really failing, right? And so again, as a teacher, we're glad that you're here, because that's words of wisdom for us, to remind us like, hey, even if you may not have reached a certain goal, that doesn't mean that it defines who you are. And so that's really important. Well, Mr. Bausman, thank you so much for your time. We appreciate you joining us as today's Thursday Thoughts.
Thank you for having me.
And students, if you don't have him in your class, make sure that you say hi to him. If you do have him in your class, ask him for his autograph and say hello and tell him he did a great job. So have a wonderful Thursday, and we'll see you out on campus. Bye.